Chapter 42-32. Ronggeng's words made Lu Ming's expression turn even more solemn. This heavenly prison was indeed very terrifying. The people who stayed here were simply being tortured at all times. It wasn't just physical torture, but also mental torture. Everyone's mental state had a weakness. The longer one stayed here, the more this weakness would be magnified. It was a kind of pain to anyone. Some people would choose special methods to vent, such as bloodthirsty, killing people, etc. Those who couldn't bear it would fall into madness. The heavenly palace uses such methods to torture us. Many people couldn't bear it and would submit to the heavenly palace, becoming the heavenly palace's tool. Ronggeng sighed. Could it be that there's no way to resist the heart devil fire? Or is there no way to escape from this heavenly prison? Lu Ming asked. There is. Ronggeng nodded and said, I've heard that there are people who can resist the attack of the heart devil fire in the heavenly prison. As for escaping, it's impossible. As far as I know, no one has ever escaped from the heavenly prison unless they submit to the heavenly palace and the heavenly palace takes the initiative to release them. Otherwise, they can only stay in the heavenly prison forever. However, submitting to the heavenly palace isn't that easy. Some people even submit to the heavenly palace, but the heavenly palace is too lazy to agree. Can't we leave? Lu Ming frowned. Little friend Mu Yun, come, let's drink. We can cooperate later. Perhaps we can find a way to resist the heart devil fire. Ronggeng said, and continued to drink with Lu Ming. The two of them drank and chatted. Lu Ming asked about the heavenly prison again. After a while, suddenly, Lu Ming's expression changed. He staggered and sat on the ground with a pale face. What's going on? Why do I feel weak all over? Am I poisoned? There's poison in your wine. Lu Ming bellowed and glared at Ronggeng. Hee. Ha ha ha. Finally acting up? Ronggeng suddenly laughed wildly. At this moment, his eyes were no longer calm. Instead, they revealed a ferocious look as he stared at Lu Ming as if he was looking at his prey. The wine is poisoned? How could it be? I checked it before I drank it. Lu Ming roared. Heh, let me tell you, the wine is not poisonous, but this wine has been specially refined by me. A special herb has been added in it, so it is not poisonous. However, once it is mixed with a special smell in this valley, it will produce a strong poison. Even a peak divine emperor will die from it. That's why you can't feel anything wrong with the wine. Ronggeng chuckled coldly and explained, Why? Why did you save me first and then poison me? Lu Ming asked with an extremely puzzled and unwilling expression. Once you've been poisoned by my poison, you won't die immediately. You'll die slowly, and your body will rot away. The process will be incomparably painful. Don't you think that it's very satisfying to see others poisoned and dying painfully in front of you? Ha ha ha. Ronggeng laughed as he spoke. The craziness in his eyes intensified. Amidst the craziness, there was also a strong sense of excitement. Lu Ming understood that Ronggeng was no different from the short man he met previously. He was also affected by the heart devil fire. His negative emotions erupted, and he became crazy and perverted. While others were bloodthirsty, Ronggeng liked to see others poisoned by him and die painfully in front of him. This way, he would be satisfied. Therefore, he saved Lu Ming so that Lu Ming would lower his guard and be poisoned by him. In an instant, Lu Ming understood everything. The heavenly prison of the heavenly palace was indeed very dangerous because it was filled with a group of crazy people who erupted with negative emotions. Looking at Lu Ming's pale face, Ronggeng felt an inexplicable sense of pleasure. It was as if some kind of violent emotion in his heart had been released. Kid, you don't have to think about using your martial arts to expel the poison. My poison can't be expelled. Once you're poisoned, there's only one outcome, which is to die slowly from poisoning. You're only feeling weak now. Soon, your body will fester and your bones will be corroded. You'll die in extreme pain. Ha ha ha. The more excited Ronggeng was, the crazier his eyes became. You're in a pitiful state. In my opinion, it's better to send you on your way. Living on is more painful. At this moment, Lu Ming's face suddenly regained its calmness. He looked at Ronggeng with pity. Ronggeng didn't look like he was poisoned at all. He looked normal. His breathing was stable and his complexion was ruddy. It was a world of difference from before. Rongung widened his eyes in shock and said in disbelief, You're not poisoned? Wrong. I'm indeed poisoned. However, this poison doesn't work on me. Lu Ming said indifferently. In fact, Lu Ming knew something was wrong when Rongung took out the wine. When he took the first sip, he knew that there was poison. However, although the poison was powerful, it didn't work on him at all. Every cell in his body contained forbidden energy. No matter how powerful the poison was, how could it destroy every cell in one go? Obviously, it was impossible. Although the poison was powerful, it could only penetrate into the cells in some important parts of the body. It was much weaker than the prohibition power on the heavenly soldier armor. Lu Ming only needed to circulate his forbidden energy slightly to refine the poison. Lu Ming had pretended to be shocked just now. Boy, how could you refine my poison? How is that possible? Rongung roared. His face was even more ferocious. He stared at Lu Ming and continued to roar. Even if you can refine my poison, you'll still die. You're only at the divine emperor realm. Kill, puff. As soon as Rongung said the word kill, his chest was suddenly pierced by a sword radiance. Rongung widened his eyes in disbelief. He didn't even know when Lu Ming had attacked him. Let me tell you, it's called the Great Assassination Technique. Die, said Lu Ming coldly. The sword radiance contained the Great Destruction Technique. Rongung gave a horrible shriek and turned into ashes. Even his soul couldn't escape. Actually, Rongung wasn't weak. He had the strength of the fourth great supreme god layer. Lu Ming couldn't defeat him in a direct battle. But Rongung had thought that Lu Ming was poisoned, so he hadn't prepared any defense against Lu Ming. When he found out that Lu Ming wasn't poisoned, he turned pale with fright and panicked. Lu Ming then used one of the 3,000 ancient secret skills, the Great Assassination Technique, to attack Rongung's vitals. Then, he used the Great Destruction Technique to kill Rongung. Rongung thought that everything was under his control, but he didn't know that Lu Ming had already seen through it. He had planned a fierce counterattack. I have to thank you for saving me before. So, I'll give you a quick death. You're free now. You don't need to be tortured by negative emotions anymore. Die in peace, whispered Lu Ming. Then, he left. Chapter 42:33. After killing Rongung, Lu Ming left the valley and headed in a certain direction. This time, Lu Ming was much more careful. He didn't fly in the air. Instead, he concealed his aura and moved along the ground. If he flew in the air, he would be easily discovered if he encountered any frenzied living beings. Of course, if he didn't want to encounter any of them, it was best to find a secluded place to stay. But that would only be safe for a short period of time. In the long run, it would become more dangerous. This was because Lu Ming wasn't completely immune to the inner flame. The inner flame couldn't affect his body, but it could affect his mind and spirit. In the long run, negative emotions would emerge in his heart, and he might even lose control. That would be a dead end. For example, that old man with disheveled hair who had lost control of himself. If he encountered someone with a weaker cultivation base, he would naturally chase after him. But if he encountered someone with a stronger cultivation base, that old man would be killed without the slightest suspense. Once he lost control, his life would no longer be in his own hands. Lu Ming didn't want to see that happen. Rongung had said that there was a way to prevent the mind from going out of control. He had to find that way. Besides, if he stayed where he was, he couldn't leave. If he wanted to find a way out of the heavenly palace's prison, he had to explore. If he stayed where he was, he definitely couldn't find a way out. Although Rongung had said that he couldn't leave the heavenly palace's prison, how would he know if he didn't try? Soon, another dozen days passed. In these dozen days, Lu Ming encountered no less than 10 living beings. But because Lu Ming was careful, he avoided them from afar and didn't meet them. He discovered that not all of these creatures had lost control and gone mad. In fact, most of them had not lost control and gone mad, but their minds were somewhat abnormal, and their symptoms varied from mild to severe. Lu Ming didn't dare to approach them. He didn't know the details, and several times, he saw living beings fighting each other. The living beings here were full of negative emotions. They could easily kill each other when they met. This also proved that the prison was really dangerous. This made Lu Ming even more careful. Another thing that made Lu Ming's heart heavy was that as time passed, he found that his heart was becoming more and more restless. He would often feel inexplicably unhappy and would want to kill someone to vent. Lu Ming knew that his mind was constantly being affected. Although it was still under control, that was because he had only been here for a short period of time. As time passed, the situation would definitely get worse. I have to find a way to defend against the heart flame devil fire. It's a pity that Bone Devil isn't here. Otherwise, I could ask him, Lu Ming thought to himself as he stuck close to the ground and continued flying. Another day later, boom. Intense rumbling sounds could be heard from up ahead. Divine light flickered about, indicating that there were people fighting a great battle. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he executed one of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques, the Great Concealment Technique. He hid behind a large rock and merged with the rock as he carefully observed the front. Up ahead, there were two living beings engaged in an intense battle. One of them was covered in purple-golden scales. The other one had two spiraling horns on his head. The two of them were fighting intensely. Their energies were surging, and the earth was shaking. Fourth Great Supreme God Layer, whispered Lu Ming. The two of them were both at the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. They were evenly matched. It was difficult to tell who would win. However, Lu Ming observed carefully. He could see that the two of them weren't completely out of control. They were just mentally unstable. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lu Ming watched for a while and got ready to leave. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's body stiffened and his pupils shrank. He was about to leave when he stopped, because a net had suddenly appeared on the ground in front of him. An incomparably gigantic net that covered thousands of miles rushed out from the ground towards the two beings that were engaged in a fierce battle. The two of them hadn't lost control. They were startled and hastily stopped fighting. Then, they flew in two different directions, trying to escape from the net. However, surprisingly, as they flew, the net became bigger and bigger. No matter how they flew, they couldn't get out of the net's range. In just a few breaths of time, the large net caught the two creatures. The large net shrunk, firmly locking the two creatures in place, making it difficult for them to move. After the two of them were caught, a middle-aged man in a red robe appeared in the sky. He raised his hand, and the net appeared in his hand. Hee, I caught two more. Not bad. The man in the red robe nodded. Then, his figure flickered and he disappeared. Lu Ming didn't come out immediately. He waited for a while. When he didn't find anything strange, he released the Great Concealment Technique and flew in a certain direction. However, Lu Ming hadn't flown far when he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. His hair stood on end. He sensed danger. In the next moment, Lu Ming found that a large net had appeared on the ground and was about to envelop him. Lu Ming didn't hesitate to use the Greater Teleportation Technique to leave. However, he was shocked when he used the Greater Teleportation Technique. He found that the space was like a quagmire. It was extremely sticky and stuck to him, making it difficult for him to leave. This huge net had actually affected space. The Greater Teleportation Technique didn't work. Greater Aurora Technique. Lu Ming immediately changed to the Greater Aurora Technique. He turned into an aurora and rushed into the distance. However, when he reappeared, he found that he hadn't escaped the net. He was still in the net. Oh no! This net is not only a treasure. It is also combined with a formation. This area is enveloped in a large formation. Lu Ming soon found something fishy. This area had been set up with a formation. The combination of the large net and the formation was very mysterious. No matter how he flew, he couldn't escape the range of the large net. Lu Ming no longer moved horizontally. Instead, he used the Greater Aurora Technique and rushed directly into the sky. However, what Lu Ming didn't expect was that as soon as he rushed into the sky, a large net suddenly appeared in the sky and enveloped him. In this way, Lu Ming was equivalent to throwing himself into the net. As soon as he rushed into the large net quickly shrank and entangled Lu Ming tightly like chains. Oh no, I'm in trouble. He found that he was completely locked and tightly entangled. No matter how much forbidden power he used, he couldn't break free. Preconceived notions killed people. Previously, when he saw the two creatures being captured, there was no large net in the sky. That was why he rushed into the sky with all his strength. He didn't expect there to be a large net in the sky. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thrown himself into the net. Chapter 42-34. After Lu Ming was trapped in the net, two silhouettes appeared in the sky. They were wearing red clothes. One of them was a middle-aged man, the one Lu Ming had seen before. The other one was an old man. The old man stretched out his hand and grabbed Lu Ming's net. A cultivator of the ninth godly emperor layer was imprisoned by the heavenly palace. How strange, whispered the old man in red clothes. His eyes were sometimes clear, and sometimes there was a trace of tyrannical aura flashing through them. He seemed very unstable. However, compared to the people Lu Ming had met previously, they were in a much better state. They were closer to normal. Indeed, it's strange. Anyway, let's bring him back and let the officer deal with him, said the man in red clothes. Then, the two of them left and disappeared. Lu Ming was trapped in the big net and could not move at all. However, his eyeballs could still move, and he sized up the surrounding environment. The ground below continued to pass by. Not long after, they arrived at a mountain peak. The terrain there was strange. There were 9 mountains in a circle. In the middle of those mountains, there was a valley. In the valley, there was a gigantic building. The building was made of stone and looked magnificent. It looked like a coliseum. The burly man in the red robe and the old man in the red robe led Lu Ming and the rest to a big hall in the building. They could see a burly man with a square face sitting at the top of the hall. This burly man was extremely tall and sturdy. Even though he was sitting there, he was still more than 3 meters tall. When he opened and closed his eyes, there was always a trace of tyrannical killing intent flashing through. His chi was extremely thick. Even though he didn't release his chi, it was still oppressive. A strong cultivator. When Lu Ming saw him, he had the feeling that he was extremely strong. He wasn't an ordinary Great Supreme God. He had the strength of the 4th or 5th Great Supreme God layer. Officer, we're back. The man in red clothes and the old man in red clothes bowed to the square-faced man. That's what you got? Surprisingly, there's a godly emperor layer cultivator here. The commander above frowned. Below them, the red-robed old man and the red-robed man's faces turned pale, and fear appeared on their faces. Commander, there are fewer and fewer people in this area recently. We've waited for 3 months and only caught these 3. The red-robed old man hurriedly replied. Please forgive us, Commander. As for the red-robed man, he pleaded for forgiveness in fear and trepidation. All right, you may leave. Lock them up and wait for my orders. The commander casually waved his hand. The red-robed old man and the red-robed man felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They bowed and retreated. Then, they walked towards an underground staircase. Unexpectedly, the ground here had been emptied, and numerous secret chambers had been dug out. No, they were stone prisons. Lu Ming discovered that there were many people imprisoned in these stone prisons. Outside the stone prison, there were many people in red robes patrolling. I can't believe that there are people in the Heavenly Palace's celestial prison. What's their purpose for capturing us? Lu Ming pondered as he looked around. It was obvious that these people in red robes belonged to a certain force. The people in the stone prison were all captured by them. However, he did not know why they had captured them. Soon, the red-robed old man carried Lu Ming to a stone prison. Then, with a wave of his hand, the net slowly loosened. The moment the net was loosened, 2 talismans appeared in the red-robed old man's hand. With a wave of his hand, the 2 talismans were stuck on Lu Ming's body. When the 2 talismans were stuck on Lu Ming's body, they turned into runes. Like small snakes, they crawled all over Lu Ming's body and even entered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming felt his body being locked up. Lu Ming knew that the 2 talismans had formed a restriction that could trap him. It seemed that the other people in the stone prison were also trapped by the same restriction. When he saw that Lu Ming was trapped by the restriction, the red-robed old man waved his hand and completely retracted the net. Kid, Stay here and don't run around. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. With your strength, anyone here can kill you." The red-robed old man said coldly before turning around and leaving the stone prison. With a bang, the door of the stone prison was closed. Lu Ming casually sized up the stone prison. Soon, his gaze locked onto a corner of the stone prison. Because there was a mummy there. It was really a mummy. Furthermore, the mummy was chained up. The other end of the chain was embedded in the wall of the stone prison. There was no sign of life on the mummy. If an ordinary person saw this scene, they would definitely be scared. However, Lu Ming had experienced all kinds of situations. He only glanced at it indifferently and sat down in another corner of the stone prison. Can the power of the restriction trap me? There was a flash in Lu Ming's eyes as he circulated the taboo power. Immediately, he could feel that the restriction power formed by the runes on his body had loosened. Lu Ming felt that as long as he was willing, he could erase the restriction power at any time. However, Lu Ming recalled his forbidden strength and didn't do that. Outside the stone prison, there were many red-robed people patrolling. These red-robed men, unsurprisingly, were all god emperors. Some of their chi was extremely dense. They probably had the strength of the fourth great supreme god layer or above. Even if Lu Ming managed to break free from the restriction seal, he wouldn't be able to defeat them and would be killed. Anyway, there wasn't any danger for the time being. Lu Ming decided to wait and see what would happen. Lu Ming decided that if he encountered any danger, he would immediately take out the purple copper coffin and risk his life. But after that, it was very peaceful. Lu Ming waited in the stone prison for 7 days, but nothing happened. Nobody came to look for him. What Lu Ming did not know was that at this moment, there was a life-and-death battle going on above his head. Above the stone prison, there was a gigantic battle stage surrounded by a gigantic deployment spell. Outside the battle stage, there were some red-robed people standing in all directions. On the north side, there was a tall and sturdy person sitting on a chair. It was the officer. At that moment, on the battle stage, there were 2 silhouettes fighting intensely. Kill, kill, kill to your heart's content. Remember, only one of you can live. If you can't kill one of you, I will kill both of you. Ha ha ha. That pupil laughed loudly, his eyes filled with excitement and madness. It was as if he had just seen something extremely exciting. Die, die. On the battle stage, the 2 silhouettes were fighting even more intensely. They understood that if they wanted to live, they had to kill each other. Only by killing each other could they live. Otherwise, they would have to stay there forever. Both of them had the strength of the second great supreme god layer. After 100 attacks, one of them finally gained the upper hand and cut off the other's arm. Chapter 42:35. One of them had his arm cut off. Blood splashed everywhere, and he howled in agony. Good, ha ha ha. The officer was even more excited when he saw that. He clapped his hands and laughed. Ferocious looks appeared in the eyes of the surrounding red-robed men. Die. The person who had the upper hand followed up his victory and attacked crazily. After more than 10 moves, he chopped off his opponent's head with a single slash. All right, the commander shouted as the excitement in his eyes reached its peak. Take him away and bring someone else up, ordered the officer. Someone immediately went up and took the one who had one away. After a short time, 2 more people were brought up. The 2 people who had been brought up had the strength of the third great supreme god layer. My rules are simple. You can fight as much as you want. Only one of you can live. If I find out that you didn't use your full strength, I'll kill you myself. Now, let's start, said the officer coldly. Roar. As soon as the commander finished speaking, one of the creatures made his move. He turned into a 3-headed lion and pounced toward his opponent. Caw. A sharp cry rang out as his opponent transformed into a huge white eagle. It spread its wings and flew up. With a flap of its wings, its feathers pierced towards the 3 lions like divine swords. The 2 cultivators of the third great supreme god layer were fighting intensely. They were equally strong, so the battle was intense. After a few hundred attacks, both of them were injured and covered in wounds. But they didn't care about their injuries. They continued attacking like crazy, using their full strength to kill their opponent. Only by killing their opponent could they save their own lives. The more the officer saw that, the more excited he was. In the end, the two cultivators won. The lion had paid a terrible price. 2 of his heads had been cut off. Finally, he killed the gigantic white eagle. Phew! Seeing this, the commander let out a long sigh of relief. It was as if some sort of emotion in his heart had been vented. His eyes became a little clearer. Soon, the 3-headed lion was brought away. By the way, last time, didn't you capture a little boy of the 9th godly emperor layer? The heavenly palace put a little boy of the 9th godly emperor layer in prison. Interesting. That little boy is probably extraordinary. Bring him out. I want to see how strong he is, said the officer. Officer, what kind of opponent should we give him? The people we captured were all great supreme gods. None of them had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. The old man in red clothes who had captured Lu Ming last time bowed hand over fist. All right, give him a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. Remember, a weak one. Otherwise, that little boy, said the officer. This subordinate understands. This subordinate will make the arrangements right away. The red-robed old man accepted the order and headed down to the stone dungeon. Calm. The red-robed old man walked in and said, finally. Thought Lu Ming. They had captured him for a reason. Finally, it was about to start. Lu Ming's spiritual awareness was connected to the purple copper coffin in his consciousness. If something went wrong, he would immediately take out the purple copper coffin and risk his life. Lu Ming didn't say much. He followed the old man out of the prison. They passed through a passage and came out of a stone door. Lu Ming realized he was on a battle stage. In front of him, a silhouette came out of a stone door. That silhouette was a tall and sturdy man with 2 blades on his back. He was looking at Lu Ming ferociously. A battle stage? Do they want us to kill each other while they watch from the outside? Lu Ming glanced around. When he saw what was going on, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After the old man in the red robe brought Lu Ming there, he flew away from the battle stage and landed next to the commander. Let me tell you what to do. You two, kill each other. Kill each other as much as you want. Only when you kill each other can the winner live. If you don't try your best, I will attack and kill both of you. Do you understand? Now, let's start, said the commander coldly. Die. As soon as the commander finished his words, the burly man with 2 sabers on his back roared and pulled out his sabers. He took a few steps forward and pounced on Lu Ming at lightning speed. He hadn't even arrived yet, but the 2 blades were already moving towards Lu Ming's head. Only the 1st great supreme god layer. He's not at his peak. It seems like he's injured. Once the other party struck, Lu Ming's expression was very calm. He had already sensed his opponent's cultivation level. He was an ordinary cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. He was injured and not at his peak. Lu Ming didn't care about a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. With a thought, the taboo power circulated and Lu Ming threw a punch. The man in the red robe had already removed the forbidden energy on his body when he had walked out of the passage. Therefore, Lu Ming wasn't restricted by the forbidden energy. Lu Ming had already cast the Great Destruction skill with this punch. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming's fist collided with the other party's saber, and there were 2 loud bangs. Following which, a figure retreated rapidly. It was the tall and sturdy man with 2 blades on his back. At that moment, his blades had already flown away. His arms had already exploded. The terrifying energy of the Great Destruction art had destroyed them. He coughed up blood and was pushed back. Swoosh! Lu Ming had already caught up with him. He casually grabbed the 2 sabers that the other party had let go of and slashed them out. Slash! Blood splashed everywhere. A head flew up. The tall and sturdy man of the 1st great supreme god layer had been killed. This scene caused the surrounding people to be dumbfounded, especially the commander. He had been prepared to watch a fierce battle. He hadn't thought that Lu Ming would win. Moreover, he had won so quickly. He had thought that Lu Ming was a godly emperor. Since he had been imprisoned by the heavenly palace, he must be extraordinary. He might be able to fight against a great supreme god. However, Great supreme gods were much stronger than godly emperors. In order to have an exciting battle, he had sent a cultivator of the first great supreme god layer who hadn't recovered yet. However, the result was beyond his expectations. He's so strong. No wonder he was imprisoned by the heavenly palace, even though he's only a godly emperor. Go and bring out an uninjured cultivator of the first great supreme god layer, ordered the commander. He didn't like to watch one-sided battles. It wasn't exciting. He liked to watch battles between people of similar strength. That kind of battle was bloody and cruel. He liked to watch people fight to the death. He liked that kind of feeling. Chapter 42:36. The battle stage was quickly cleaned up, and the corpse of the middle-aged man with the double sabers was also cleaned up. Then, another silhouette appeared on the fighting stage. It was a tall and sturdy man. He looked ferocious and crazy as he stared at Lu Ming. First Great Supreme God Layer. He has the strength of the first Great Supreme God Layer. The man didn't hide his chi at all. Lu Ming could easily see his cultivation level. The man's chi was extremely thick. He was obviously in his peak condition. He wasn't injured at all. The rules are the same. You two fight with your full strength. Only the winner can live. Let's start. The commander's voice rang out with a strong sense of anticipation. Roar. As soon as the officer finished talking, the tall and sturdy man roared furiously. His body quickly became bigger and bigger, turning into a black bear. The black bear was more than 10 meters tall. It looked like a small mountain as it charged towards Lu Ming. Its paw was bigger than a door as it slapped towards Lu Ming. Even though it looked like a simple slap, it was terrifyingly powerful. It was as thick as a mountain. In the chaotic universe, even a planet would be destroyed by it. The strong wind was already cutting Lu Ming's skin. However, no matter how strong his opponent was, he was only an ordinary cultivator of the first Great Supreme God Layer. As long as he could fight against someone who was 4 levels higher, he could compete against him. Lu Ming could fight against someone who was 9 levels higher. However, Lu Ming was thinking about something else. The officer of this place obviously liked to watch people fight against each other. He liked to watch people fight against each other. Therefore, Lu Ming couldn't use his full strength. The stronger he appeared, the stronger the other party would send to fight him. If that continued, sooner or later, they would send someone who was stronger than Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming would be in danger. As he pondered, he struck out with his fist and collided with the bear's paw. Boom! There was a loud explosion. The black bear's body shook violently. It staggered back a dozen steps. Lu Ming also took 2 steps back. Of course, these 2 steps were done intentionally by Lu Ming. Otherwise, how could the other party defeat Lu Ming with his strength? Even so, the commander and the others were still amazed. Incredible. He's really strong. He's only a cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer, and he's suppressing a cultivator of the first Great Supreme God layer. He's even stronger than the candidates of the Universe Young Geniuses list. The commander sighed in admiration. This battle will definitely be a fierce battle. It will be very exciting. Commander, please enjoy it. On the side, the red-robed elder took the opportunity to flatter him. I hope so, the commander said. Roar. On the battle stage, the black bear was pushed back and went completely mad. It roared crazily and bared its fangs as it pounced toward Lu Ming. A pair of bear paws slammed down consecutively, as if wanting to smash Lu Ming into minced meat. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He threw out continuous punches with both fists and fought with the black bear. Of course, he didn't use his full strength. He was only slightly stronger than the black bear. After a dozen attacks, the black bear was pushed back violently. Its paws were rotting and its bones were broken. Then, Lu Ming jumped up and punched the black bear's head. The black bear screamed and its head exploded. It died on the spot. He was killed so quickly? The commander was surprised. He wasn't satisfied. The red-robed elder pulled a long face and said, Commander, I think this little boy is a top genius of the primitive universe. He's only a godly emperor layer, so he can fight against cultivators who are 5 levels higher than him. Why don't we send a cultivator of the 2nd Great Supreme God layer to test him? Second Great Supreme Godlayer? I'm afraid he's too strong. Send a weaker cultivator of the Second Great Supreme Godlayer. The commander nodded. I'll do it right away. The red-robed elder hastily left. After the battle platform was cleaned up, another creature appeared on the platform. It was a member of the multi-eyed clan, with 6 eyes on his face. He had 3 eyes on each side of his face. These 6 eyes actually had 3 different colors. 1 pair was red, 1 pair was blue, and 1 pair was golden. 6 pairs of eyes stared at Lu Ming simultaneously, revealing brutal, murderous intents. Second Great Supreme Godlayer. As expected, the stronger I am, the stronger they'll send. This time, I have to suppress my strength as much as possible. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He was even more certain of his speculation. The commander liked to watch evenly matched battles. A moment before, Lu Ming had been too strong. He had won too easily. If the enemy wasn't happy, they would send stronger cultivators. If he continued to suppress his opponent, the enemy might send a cultivator of the Third Great Supreme Godlayer to fight against him. Then, he would be in danger. After all, it was a battle to the death. Let's start. The commander gave a simple explanation of the rules as usual. Swoosh. This time, Lu Ming took the initiative to attack. He clenched his fist in the air and a demonic sword condensed, slashing toward the 6-eyed middle-aged man. Die! The 6-eyed middle-aged man reacted very quickly. With a shout, his pair of crimson eyes emitted a dazzling brilliance. 2 crimson divine lights burst forth and shot toward Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing. They were like 2 swords, aiming at Lu Ming's head. Before they even reached him, a scorching hot chi filled the air. Lu Ming pretended to be shocked. There was a look of horror in his eyes. He let out a long howl and changed the trajectory of the demonic sword in his hands. He slashed twice consecutively. Dang! Dang! The demonic sword collided with the 2 crimson divine lights, erupting with a violent roar. It was as if 2 divine weapons had collided. Then, Lu Ming's figure retreated, continuously retreating more than 10 steps on the fighting ring. 2 holes appeared on the body of the demonic sword in his hand. It had been melted by the scarlet divine light. Of course, all of this was Lu Ming's intention. Otherwise, although the other party's crimson divine light was powerful, he would not be able to break his great demonic swordsmanship. However, others didn't know that. When they saw this scene, they thought that Lu Ming was finally at his limit. Commander, this kid has finally reached his limit. This battle should be worth watching. The red-robed elder said. The commander nodded. His eyes were still fixed on the battle stage. Die! The 6-eyed middle-aged man bellowed. His crimson eyes shone even brighter. Beams of crimson divine light shot toward Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming shouted. He pressed his hands in the air. More than 10 demon swords appeared in the air and slashed towards his opponent. The sky was filled with sword light. They collided with the opponent's divine light. For a moment, Lu Ming had the upper hand. This seems to be an ancient secret skill. Interesting. The commander muttered. He seemed to have good eyesight and recognized the great demon sword art. Soon, the 2 sides exchanged more than 10 moves. Lu Ming had a slight upper hand. Chapter 42:37. Lu Ming had the upper hand because he knew that the middle-aged man hadn't used his full strength yet. His opponent had 6 eyes, and he was only using 2. As expected, the middle-aged man was at a disadvantage. He roared furiously, and his 6 eyes shone with dazzling light. 2 of his blue eyes shone with divine light. They were extremely cold, as if they could freeze everything. 2 beams of golden sword light shot out from the golden eyes. They were incomparably sharp and indestructible. When the 6 eyes attacked at the same time, their power increased greatly. For a moment, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming pretended that the battle was very difficult. He kept fighting with his opponent, as if he was using his full strength. In the end, they exchanged more than 100 moves. Lu Ming pretended to be weak, and his opponent's divine light pierced through his body. However, Lu Ming took advantage of this opportunity to quickly get closer to the middle-aged man. He condensed dozens of great demon sword skills and slashed them wildly. In the end, he killed the middle-aged man. Then, Lu Ming staggered back and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Blood kept flowing out of the holes in his body. He looked like he had been seriously injured. Lu Ming deliberately restrained his forbidden strength to prevent his wounds from healing. Otherwise, with his physique, he would be able to recover from this injury very quickly. Not bad, wonderful, shouted the commander. He looked very satisfied. A cultivator of the 9th godly emperor layer had killed a cultivator of the 2nd great supreme god layer. He had never seen such a thing before. Of course, he was very satisfied. The red-robed old man also smiled. After all, he was the one who had brought Lu Ming back. "Commander, should we send more people to fight with him?" asked the red-robed old man in a low voice. "No, he's already injured. Take him back to heal. We'll see next time. That's all for today," said the commander. Then, he stood up and left. The old man in the red robe stepped onto the battle stage. "Boy, come back with me," said the red-robed old man. He took out 2 talismans and put them on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming looked around. He didn't dodge, nor did he take the opportunity to rush out. There were many red-robed people nearby, and many of them were very strong. Lu Ming estimated that there were at least 20 people who could kill him, not to mention the unfathomable commander. He could probably suppress him with one finger. Lu Ming had thought of taking out the purple copper coffin and risking his life. However, there were too many uncertainties with the purple copper coffin. Firstly, opening the purple copper coffin would put him in danger. Secondly, the purple copper coffin was sometimes ineffective. For some of the ordinary races in the universe, it didn't seem to work. So, unless it was a last resort, Lu Ming would not use the coffin. If he lost control, or if it didn't work, he would be in trouble. In any case, his life was not in danger now, so he was not in a hurry to risk his life. He would wait for the right time to make a decision. With a bang, the door of the stone cell closed. The red-robed old man left. After the red-robed old man left, Lu Ming sat cross-legged in a corner of the stone cell. He circulated his forbidden power. The wounds on his body healed at an amazing speed. In a few moments, the wounds were completely healed. "Amazing, amazing. I knew that you're not simple, little fellow." Just then, a figure's voice sounded. This figure appeared to be very old and seemed to be rather weak. But Lu Ming was shocked. The voice came from the stone cell. However, there was no one else in the stone cell except for him. Who was the voice? No, there was another mummy in the stone cell. Lu Ming had a flash of inspiration and looked at the mummy. The mummy was still the same mummy. It was chained there and had no aura. But Lu Ming didn't dare to relax. He still stared at it and said, "Are you the one who spoke? Is there a third person in this stone cell other than you and me?" That voice sounded again. This time, Lu Ming accurately captured that the voice was indeed from the mummy. The mummy was alive. Just then, the mummy that had no aura suddenly emitted a trace of life. Although it wasn't strong, it was indeed the aura of life. This was indeed not a mummy, but a living creature. The next moment, the mummy opened its eyes and stared straight at Lu Ming, revealing a look of anticipation. "Senior, you're not dead. Why have you been pretending to be dead?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "My aura was too weak. I had to restrain my life force. Otherwise, I would have died," the mummy said. Lu Ming looked carefully. This mummy was actually an old man with a head full of white hair. "Oh?" Lu Ming replied with a soft "oh," but didn't comment. "Little guy, your power is very special and very strong. Based on my observation, the power of the seal can't control you. If you want to break free, you can break free of the seal at any time, right?" The old man said. "You were also captured by these red-robed men?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course. It's not hard to tell," the old man said. "Who are these red-robed men?" Lu Ming asked again. "They are all people imprisoned here by the Heavenly Palace. They were gathered by Commander Tungsten to form a force. You've been in this prison for a while, right? I'm sure you're aware that this prison is extremely dangerous. It's filled with heartflame devil fire. If you stay in the heartflame devil fire for a long time, you won't be able to escape. Not only will the body be tortured, but the mind and spirit will be even more terrifying. As time goes by, the negative emotions in one's heart will erupt. Then, the inner demon will erupt, causing one to fall into madness. Therefore, the prison in this world is very dangerous. You will encounter people with negative emotions. The negative emotions in one's heart will be infinitely magnified. Some people are bloodthirsty, some are lustful, and so on. Therefore, those with weak cultivation will need to seek the protection of experts. Those red-robed men need the protection of Commander Tungsten, and Commander Tungsten needs these people to go around and capture people for him. The old man rambled on and on. Capture people for him to kill each other? Lu Ming asked. Yes. When a person's heart is filled with negative emotions, they need to vent. For example, those who are bloodthirsty and those who drink blood will suppress their negative emotions and become more stable. As long as a person kills, their negative emotions will be suppressed. However, Commander Tungsten is different. He likes to watch others fight to the death. He likes to watch people fight to the death. When he watches such fights, his negative emotions will be stabilized. Otherwise, he would have gone completely crazy long ago. The old man continued to explain. Chapter 42:38. Lu Ming nodded after hearing the old man's explanation. This was pretty much what he had guessed. That commander was indeed venting by watching others fight to the death. Kid, I've answered your question. Now, let's get back to the main topic. Your power is very special and very powerful. It can erase the power of restrictions. Do you see that I'm chained up by these chains? These chains also contain the power of restrictions. How about you help me break them? The old man said, Oh, that's your goal, right? But what good will it do me if I help you break them? If those red-robed men know about this, I'm afraid I'll end up in a miserable state. Lu Ming said, Of course there will be benefits. You're also affected by the heart flame demonic fire in the sky prison. No one can be spared, but I have a way to resist the heart flame demonic fire so that your mind and spirit won't be affected. The old man said. These words made Lu Ming's heart skip a beat. His eyes shone brightly. You really have a way to prevent my mind and spirit from being affected by the heart flame demonic fire? Lu Ming asked urgently. The heart flame demonic fire was indeed a great threat to Lu Ming. Although he had the forbidden power, it could only prevent his physical body from being affected. His mind and spirit would still be affected. The forbidden power couldn't completely eliminate it. If this continued, it would be very dangerous. The longer it lasted, the more dangerous it would be. The longer it lasted, the stronger the negative emotions in his heart. In the end, it wasn't impossible for him to completely fall into madness. If he wanted to leave the sky prison alive, this problem had to be solved. And now, the old man said that he had a way to solve it. Lu Ming was naturally overjoyed. However, Lu Ming's mind wasn't ordinary. He quickly controlled his emotions and calmed himself down. Kid, as long as you help me break the restrictions, I'll teach you the way to resist the heart flame demonic fire. The old man said, How do I know if you're telling the truth? Lu Ming was skeptical. He didn't believe that he could find a way to resist the heart flame demonic fire so easily. If it was so easy, what was the point of the sky prison? Let me tell you, everything I said is true. Otherwise, why do you think Commander Tungsten locked me up here? He wants to know how to resist the heart flame devil fire from me, but I won't tell him. Does he think I don't know? As long as I tell him the method to resist the heart flame devil fire, he will kill me without hesitation. The old man said. Lu Ming nodded. What the old man said made sense. If he really handed over the method to resist the heart flame devil fire, then the old man would lose his usefulness to Commander Tungsten. Naturally, Commander Tungsten would not keep him alive. They have tortured me for a long time, but as long as I don't say anything, they won't kill me. One day, I will escape. I will definitely get my revenge. The old man roared. Even if I help you break the seal, I'm afraid that you won't be able to escape. There are many experts here, Lu Ming said. However, before Lu Ming could finish speaking, he heard footsteps coming from outside. Lu Ming immediately stopped talking. They're here. They're here for me. The old man said. Sure enough, after a while, with a clang, the door of the stone prison opened and a group of people walked in. The one leading was Commander Tungsten. There were also a few other red-robed men. Commander Tungsten walked into the stone prison and glanced at Lu Ming. When he saw that Lu Ming's injuries were almost healed, he was surprised. However, he did not say anything and continued to walk toward the old man. "Old man, I'll give you one more chance. Hand over the method to resist the heart flame devil fire. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death." Commander Tungsten said coldly, "Ha ha ha, if you have the ability, then do it. It's impossible for me to hand over the method to resist the heart flame devil fire." The old man laughed loudly and looked as if he could kill him at any time. "You are courting death," Commander Tungsten roared angrily. His eyes were filled with flames of anger and ferocious killing intent. Every time he faced the old man, his negative emotions would explode. If it wasn't for the fact that he really wanted the method to resist the heart flame devil fire, he would have turned the old man into ashes. "Let me tell you, if you don't hand it over, you'll suffer endless torture. If you hand it over, you'll suffer less torture." Commander Tungsten said coldly, "If you want to do it, then do it. Don't talk nonsense. I'll say it again. It's impossible for me to hand over the method to resist the heart flame devil fire." The old man sneered and his attitude was unyielding. "You're courting death. Men, do it and torture him well," Commander Tungsten roared. Immediately, a few red-robed men took out a few talismans and pasted them on the old man's body. These talismans turned into runes that crawled all over the old man's body. At the same time, the chains on the old man's body trembled and emitted a dazzling glow. Runes appeared on the chains and crawled into the old man's body along the chains. Roar! The old man's body suddenly trembled and he let out a beast-like roar. The veins on his face bulged and his eyes bulged as if he was suffering endless pain. As time passed, his body trembled more and more violently. In the end, the roars became more and more frequent. It was obvious that the talismans and chains were working together to inflict great torture on the old man. However, the old man didn't beg for mercy or give in. This went on for half an hour. The old man's aura was getting weaker and weaker. If this continued, the old man would die. Damned old man. Damned old man. Commander Tungsten was also extremely irritable. He kept roaring and the madness in his eyes intensified. He really wanted to ignore the old man and let him be tortured to death. However, his remaining rationality told him that he couldn't. The old man was his only hope. If he couldn't obtain the method to resist the heart flame devil fire from the old man, he would sooner or later fall into madness and become a walking corpse. In the end, his rationality prevailed. "Stop!" Commander Tungsten roared. A few red-robed men formed seals, and a few talismans flew out from the old man's body. As soon as the talisman seals flew out, the runes on the chains dimmed and disappeared. "Hoo hoo hoo!" The old man kept panting and his face was covered in cold sweat. "Old man, you better think carefully. Next time, I'll make you suffer even more," Commander Tungsten said coldly and left with his men. With a clang, the door closed and Lu Ming and the old man were left in the stone prison. The old man was still panting and Lu Ming didn't disturb him. After the period it took an incense stick to burn, the old man's aura finally calmed down. Chapter 42:39. Little guy, do you believe what I said now? After a while, the old man regained his breath and said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, from what had just happened, he could conclude that the old man had a way to resist the heart flame demon fire. This made Lu Ming's heart move. "Senior, even if I can help you break the seal, this is the enemy's lair. They have many experts. We can't escape. Once your seal is broken, we'll be in more danger." Lu Ming said, "So, we need a chance." The old man said, "A chance? What chance?" Lu Ming asked. "In this prison, there are always people going crazy. These crazy people will attack everywhere. In addition, there are also some people who are filled with negative emotions. They are bloodthirsty and murderous. With so many living beings gathered here, it's possible that some of them will come here to kill. It happened before, but I was controlled by the seal and didn't have a chance to escape. If it happens again, we can take the chance to escape." The old man said. Are you sure? Looking at the old man's weak appearance, Lu Ming was doubtful. With their battle strength, even if the prison fell into chaos, it would be difficult for them to escape. The enemy only needed to send a cultivator of the fourth great supreme god layer to capture them. Little fellow, don't underestimate me. My cultivation is currently sealed by the restriction. Once the restriction is removed, my cultivation will recover by a large portion. Let me tell you, my peak combat strength isn't inferior to that Commander Tungji. The old man said with a hint of pride in his voice. At your peak, you're not weaker than Commander Tungji? Then how did he capture you? Lu Ming was still doubtful. That's because at that time, I was entangled by a completely crazy person. I fought with that crazy person, and with great difficulty, I managed to kill that crazy person. I was also injured. That Commander Tungji took the opportunity to charge out and seriously injured me. That was how I was captured. If I was at my peak, how could that Commander Tungji possibly capture me? The old man said. He seemed unhappy. If that's the case, we can give it a try. Lu Ming murmured and made a decision. All right, then we'll wait for an opportunity. Once the opportunity arrives, break open the restrictions for me, and I'll take you away. Little fellow, during this period of time, Commander Tungsten will surely make you go out and fight. You have to preserve your life and not die. The old man said, You don't have to worry about that. Now, can you teach me how to resist the heart flame demon fire? Lu Ming said, If I teach you now, what if you go back on your words? I think we'll talk about it after we escape. The old man said. Lu Ming had no choice but to wait. For the next 2 days, Commander Wuji did not let Lu Ming go out to fight. It was only on the 3rd day that Lu Ming was finally summoned. Above the stone dungeon and on the battle platform, Lu Ming looked ahead. A tall figure was walking over. Every step he took caused the ground to rumble. It was a gorilla, more than 8 meters tall. It was extremely tall and sturdy. The gorilla wasn't made of flesh and blood. It was made of metal. It was a metallic creature. Its whole body was shining with a black metallic luster. It gave people the impression that it was invincible. Is that one of the top 10 clans, the metallic creature clan? A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. You're just a human of the divine emperor realm. I'll tear you to pieces. The metallic gorilla roared and stomped on the ground. His tall and sturdy body was like a mountain, pressing down on Lu Ming. His violent chi was extremely terrifying. Second Great Supreme God Layer. Lu Ming knew that it was a cultivator of the Second Great Supreme God Layer. However, his chi was even stronger than the six-eyed middle-aged man Lu Ming had fought last time. Lu Ming threw a punch, colliding with the metal gorilla's fist. There was a violent explosion. Then, Lu Ming's body retreated continuously. He retreated more than 10 steps before he regained his balance. Of course, Lu Ming had done it on purpose. The metallic gorilla was one of the top 10 clans, the metallic creature clan. It was extremely strong. It was indeed stronger than an ordinary cultivator of the Second Great Supreme God Layer. However, it still wasn't a match for Lu Ming. But Lu Ming couldn't show his full strength. He had to act weak. Otherwise, Lu Ming could bet that the enemy would send out a cultivator of the Third Great Supreme God Layer next time. Lu Ming was pushed back a dozen steps. The metallic gorilla was pushed back a few steps as well. You're that strong? The metallic gorilla was astonished. It hadn't thought that Lu Ming, a divine emperor realm cultivator, could be that strong. Even in the metallic creature clan, such a young genius had never appeared before. You're such a strong young genius. If you grow up, you'll become a great enemy of the heavenly palace. I didn't want to kill you, but I have no choice. Die. The metal gorilla roared. Its metal muscles swelled, and its body became more burly. It continued to charge toward Lu Ming. That's what I wanted to say to you, said Lu Ming. He threw a punch. Dong, dong. The two of them started fighting fiercely. They kept exchanging blows. After a few breaths, they had exchanged over 100 attacks. The metallic creature clan was extremely talented. Its entire body was made of metal. Its defense was incredible. Its strength was even greater than that of an ordinary clan. Ordinary cultivators of the Second Great Supreme God Layer would be easily crushed by the metallic gorilla. Of course, it wasn't a match for Lu Ming. It was under Lu Ming's control. However, Lu Ming couldn't show too much strength. After exchanging a few hundred attacks with the metallic gorilla, Lu Ming decided to use a method where both of them were injured. He didn't defend himself. He just attacked crazily. Boom. Lu Ming's body was hit by the metal gorilla's punch. His chest caved in and blood flowed out. At the same time, the metallic gorilla's abdomen was also hit by Lu Ming's fist. With a thud, a large part of the metal gorilla's body caved in. The metal gorilla's body staggered back, revealing a pained expression. "Die!" shouted Lu Ming. He ignored his defense and attacked the metallic gorilla again. The two of them started fighting crazily. They attacked each other without any regard for defense. Both of them were hit continuously. Not long after, Lu Ming's body was in tatters. Many of his bones were broken. It was a terrifying sight. However, the metal gorilla was not in a better state. There were huge holes in its metal body, and some parts of its body were pierced. There was even one time when Lu Ming hit its neck, almost breaking its head off. The metallic gorilla's chi was getting weaker and weaker. Even though Lu Ming was heavily injured, his chi was still strong. Chapter 4240. This kid has such a unique physique and strong recovery ability. No wonder he dared to use such an internecine battle method. Commander Tungsten whispered from above. This was what Lu Ming wanted Commander Tungsten to see. Commander Tungsten didn't suspect that Lu Ming was hiding his strength. He just thought that Lu Ming's vitality was strong and his recovery ability was superb. After being injured, he could quickly recover. Therefore, he was able to fight the metal gorilla to such an extent even though he was weaker than the latter. He recalled that Lu Ming was injured in the battle with the six-eyed middle-aged man and recovered quickly. He was puzzled at first, but now he figured it out. It was all because of Lu Ming's strong recovery ability. Not bad, not bad. This kind of battle is exciting. Kid, don't die. Give me more exciting battles in the future. Commander Tungsten murmured to himself with excitement in his eyes. What he loved the most was this kind of bloody battle, a battle where both sides were evenly matched. He looked bored in this one-sided battle as he couldn't vent his negative emotions. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming and the metal gorilla were still fighting fiercely. However, the more they fought, the more obvious Lu Ming's advantage became. This was because his recovery ability was very strong. After being injured, he could quickly recover and his combat strength wasn't affected much. On the other hand, the metal gorilla couldn't. As the battle continued, its injuries became more serious and its combat strength became weaker. It had the upper hand at the beginning, but it was later suppressed by Lu Ming. In the end, it was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. It was no match for Lu Ming at all. After exchanging dozens of blows, there was a loud bang. Lu Ming blasted the head of the metal gorilla with a punch, killing it completely. Then, Lu Ming sat on the ground and gasped for breath. Pretending to be defeated and suppressing my strength is really tiring, Lu Ming muttered to himself. Suppressing his strength and exchanging blows was more tiring than fighting with all his strength. However, in the eyes of the Tungsten Pole Commander and the rest, they thought that Lu Ming was exhausted because he had gone all out to fight. Not bad, not bad. It was an exciting fight. Bring him down and let him fight after his injuries have healed, Commander Tungji said. Then, the red-robed old man brought Lu Ming back to the prison. After the red-robed elder left, Lu Ming immediately circulated his taboo power and the injuries on his body quickly healed. Your acting skills are not bad. The old man chuckled. Lu Ming ignored him and focused on recovering. After that, every 3 days, Commander Dongji would send Lu Ming to fight. Each time, he would send a cultivator of the second great supreme god layer, who was as strong as the metal gorilla. Every time, Lu Ming would deliberately suppress his strength, using the method of exchanging injury for injury to kill his opponent. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had already fought 5 times. On this day, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged in the dungeon, quietly comprehending the secret technique. Boom! Suddenly, the dungeon shook violently as if there was an earthquake. The old man's eyes suddenly lit up, emitting a dazzling radiance. They're coming! They're coming! Someone is coming! The old man said. Lu Ming was also excited. looking forward to it. Rumble. The dungeon shook more and more violently, as if there was a powerful force constantly bombarding the ground. Kill. Ha ha ha, kill. At the same time, a voice came from above, penetrating the stone wall, filled with a violent aura. Indeed, someone is coming, but judging from the voice, it doesn't seem like they've completely gone crazy. But their aura is very strong, not weaker than Commander Dongji. The old man listened and judged. It seems like there's more than one person coming. There's more. Lu Ming also listened carefully. Yes, there's more than one person. Look, they're going out. Our chance is here, the old man said. At this moment, the red-robed cultivators who were guarding the dungeon rushed out. There were not many people left. Our chance is here. Let's take action, or it'll be too late, the old man hurriedly said. But before he could finish his words, he stopped abruptly, his eyes wide open, stunned. At this moment, a powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body, and at the same time, small snake-like runes spread out. These small snakes were the power of the restriction. But as soon as these rune-like small snakes appeared, they seemed to burn, turning into wisps of black smoke and disappearing. The restriction on Lu Ming's body disappeared without a trace. So fast. The old man was dumbfounded, stuttering as if something was stuck in his throat. He originally thought that even if Lu Ming could refine the restriction on his body, it would take a while. He did not expect Lu Ming to finish it as soon as he started. This speed was too fast. Let me help you. After refining the restriction on his body, Lu Ming immediately came in front of the old man, grabbed a chain, and poured the restriction energy into it. Buzz. The chain vibrated slightly, and runes appeared on it. These runes were obviously stronger than the ones on Lu Ming's body, but under the effect of the restriction energy, the result was the same. The runes on the chain seemed to burn violently, then turned into wisps of black smoke and dissipated. It's done. It's done. I can feel my strength recovering. Ha ha. The old man was overjoyed. There were a total of 8 chains on his body, and now that Lu Ming had refined one of them, the restriction energy immediately loosened, and the old man felt his strength beginning to recover. Quick, continue, the old man shouted. This time, Lu Ming stretched out both hands, holding a chain in each hand, and began to pour the restriction energy. In just a breath's time, the power of the restriction on the 2 chains was refined by the taboo power. There were already 3 chains, and the old man felt his strength recover a little. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to attack. Soon, the remaining 5 chains were refined by Lu Ming. Boom! When the restriction energy on the last chain was refined by Lu Ming, the old man immediately released a powerful qi. The qi was not very strong at first, but it increased very quickly. In less than half a minute, it had reached a level that shocked Lu Ming. Haha, let's go. The old man laughed and threw a punch, and the door of the dungeon exploded into pieces. The old man took the lead and walked out. Lu Ming followed closely behind him. How did you escape? You're courting death. As soon as Lu Ming and the others went out, a few people in red clothes noticed them. Even though some of them had gone out, some of them had stayed behind. Immediately, a few people in red clothes threw themselves at Lu Ming and the old man. They were extremely fast, and their qi was terrifying. One of them had the strength of the 4th Great Supreme God Layer. If Lu Ming fought him alone, he would not be able to defeat him. Chapter 42-41. A few people in red clothes threw themselves at Lu Ming and the old man. One of them had the strength of the 4th Great Supreme God Layer, and the other 2 had the strength of the 3rd Great Supreme God Layer. You're courting death. The old man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. After being captured by Commander Tongji, he had been tortured endlessly. He was filled with hatred and murderous intent towards those people, but he had been suppressed before, so he could only endure. Now that he was free, how could he endure it? He immediately rushed towards the 3 people in red clothes. His claws were like sharp blades, and in a flash, the sky was filled with claw lights. Slash, slash. The old man's silhouette flickered, and the 3 people in red clothes didn't even have time to scream before they were torn to pieces. The difference between them was too great. Even though they had the strength of the 4th Great Supreme God Layer, they were still killed instantly. The old man's strength was unfathomable. He had been suppressed for so many years and had just been released. He obviously hadn't recovered to his peak strength, but he was still extremely strong. Let's go. It's not the time to take revenge. Wait until I'm fully recovered, then I'll flatten this place, said the old man to Lu Ming. Then, he walked up a flight of stairs. He hadn't lost his mind. He knew that it wasn't the time to take revenge. Very soon, Lu Ming and the elder left the ground and came to the surface. Boom, boom. On the ground, the battle was extremely fierce. Lu Ming glanced around and saw that there were two main battlefields. Commander Teng Ji and a red-haired old man were fighting in the air. They were locked in a fierce battle. The red-haired old man's eyes were filled with bloodthirst. He was crazily attacking, but his strength was about the same as Commander Teng Ji's, so it was difficult to determine the winner. On the other battlefield, a group of people in red clothes were attacking three silhouettes. They were three gigantic red wolves. They were extremely strong. Even though there were only three of them and there were dozens of people in red clothes, they were still locked in a fierce battle. There were 7 or 8 corpses on the ground. They were all the people in red clothes. The two of them glanced at the corpses and didn't stop. They quickly rushed outside. Damn it! Damn it! Old man, stay here. High up in the sky, Tungsten let out a furious roar when he discovered Lu Ming and the old man. Tungsten, just you wait. Sooner or later, I will settle this debt with you. Oh, you must live well. Don't completely fall into madness before I come. The old man's voice was filled with mockery. Ah, don't even think about leaving. Commander Teng Ji roared and suddenly attacked, blocking the red-haired old man's attack. Then, he wanted to charge towards Lu Ming and the others. The old man had a way to block the heart flame demonic flame. He absolutely could not lose it. You want to leave? Die. The red-haired old man roared crazily. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he charged towards the tungsten commander without regard for his life. The tungsten commander was almost hit, and he broke out in cold sweat. He didn't dare to be careless anymore. The other party's strength was in no way inferior to his. If he were to get careless, he could very well die in the other party's hands. You guys, go and stop those two. Commander Tungsten Commander could only order the red-robed men. Immediately, a few red-robed men chased after Lu Ming and the old man. Among them, there was even a 5th-layer Great Supreme God expert. However, the old man was extremely strong. He killed the 5th-layer Great Supreme God expert with a single attack. The other red-robed men were frightened and frantically retreated. Lu Ming and the elder dashed out very quickly and left at high speed. Damn it! Damn it! Commander Tungsten Commander roared anxiously. In the end, Commander Tungsten Commander's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. Let's not fight anymore. I'll tell you, the old man who just ran away has a way to block the heart flame demonic flame. Commander Tungsten Commander roared. If this continued, Lu Ming and the old man would run away. He would lose the way to block the heart flame demonic flame. Therefore, he simply roared. Even if he had to share it with the red-haired old man, he wouldn't hesitate. As expected, when the red-haired old man heard this, he immediately froze. The brutal, murderous intent in his eyes instantly weakened. His eyes became clear, and then they were replaced by a strong desire. You're telling the truth? He really has a way to block the heart flame demonic flame? The red-haired old man asked in a trembling voice. He had been locked in the heavenly prison for many years. The heart flame demonic flame had corroded him greatly. The negative emotions in his heart were getting stronger and stronger. He was on the verge of going crazy. He had once wanted to submit to the Heavenly Palace and become the Heavenly Palace's Heaven Patroller. The Heavenly Palace's Heaven Patroller was actually the Heavenly Palace's hired thugs. However, because he had offended a genius of the Heavenly Palace, the Heavenly Palace didn't allow him to submit. He could only be locked in the heavenly prison for the rest of his life until he finally went crazy and died. He wasn't far from going completely crazy. If this continued, the outcome would be predictable. You better not lie to me, the red-haired old man shouted. Then he turned around and chased after Lu Ming and the old man. Commander Tungsten also stepped out. Like a beam of rainbow light, he chased after Lu Ming and the elder. Lu Ming and the old man flew at full speed. However, Commander Teng Ji and the red-haired old man were even faster. Soon, the distance between the two parties was shortened. Not good. I'll take you away. The old man's expression changed. He waved his hand, and a divine power swept up Lu Ming. Then, he suddenly increased his speed and flew forward rapidly. The old man took Lu Ming and increased his speed by a few times. However, he was still slower than Commander Teng Ji and the red-haired old man. The three parties tore through the void like three bolts of lightning. However, the distance between Commander Teng Ji and the red-haired old man and Lu Ming was still gradually shortened. The old man hadn't fully recovered. Now that he was carrying Lu Ming, his speed was more or less affected. Naturally, he wasn't as fast as Commander Teng Ji and the others. If this continued, they would catch up sooner or later. Do you have any fake secret manuals or jade talismans on you? Throw them out and let them snatch them. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to the old man. The old man's eyes lit up and revealed a trace of joy. He transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Little guy, you're young, but you have a lot of thoughts. However, this is a good idea. Haha. Of course, the old man didn't immediately take out a fake one. Instead, he continued to fly for a distance. Seeing that the distance was getting closer, the old man put on a forced expression and roared, "If you want a technique to resist the heart flame devil fire, I'll give it to you." After saying that, the old man waved his hand and a jade talisman flew out like lightning towards Commander Teng Ji. Commander Teng Ji's eyes lit up, and he reached out to grab the jade talisman. However, how could the red-haired old man let him have his way? He roared, "Get lost. This is mine." Chapter 42-42. The red-haired elder roared and charged towards Commander Teng Ji. His violent attacks seemed like he wanted to tear Commander Teng Ji into pieces. Commander Teng Ji had no choice but to fight back with all his might. Although he had his doubts, he doubted the authenticity of the technique that the elder threw out. However, he could not take the risk. What if it was real? Wouldn't it fall into the hands of the red-haired elder? Once it fell into the hands of the red-haired elder, he could forget about getting it. Therefore, he had to fight with all his might to get the jade talisman. While Commander Teng Ji and the red-haired elder were fighting fiercely, Lu Ming and Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to fly and disappeared from the area in the blink of an eye. The elder carried Lu Ming and flew at full speed. They flew continuously for a day before they found a place to stop and take a rest. With his speed, flying for a day was too long. It was impossible for Commander Teng Ji to catch up with them. "Senior Hao Lu, can you teach me the technique to resist the heart flame demon fire now?" Lu Ming looked at the old man and said to him. Hao Lu was the elder's name. "Hee, little guy, do you really think there's a technique to resist the heart flame demon fire?" Hao Lu chuckled. Lu Ming's face changed. "Senior, what do you mean? To tell you the truth, there's no technique to resist the heart flame demon fire at all." Hao Lu said. "What?" Lu Ming's face darkened. He stared at Hao Lu and said, "You've been playing with me since the beginning?" Could Hao Lu have been deceiving Lu Ming from the beginning, so that Lu Ming could help him escape? However, why did Commander Teng Ji think that Hao Lu had a technique to resist the heart flame demon fire? Could he have been deceived by Hao Lu too? Lu Ming's face became more and more unpleasant. If not for Hao Lu's strength being too strong, he would have already taken action to suppress Hao Lu. "Little guy, don't be too agitated. Let me finish." Hao Lu was still smiling mischievously. Lu Ming stared at Hao Lu with a gloomy face. He didn't say anything, obviously waiting for Hao Lu to continue. "Although I don't have a technique to block the heart flame devil fire, I do have a treasure that can block it," Vast Willow said. "A treasure that can resist the heart flame devil fire?" Lu Ming was puzzled. "Yes. Otherwise, why would that Commander Teng Ji believe that I possess a method to resist the heart flame devil fire? He saw that I was not affected by the heart flame devil fire and thought that I possessed a method to resist it. I naturally beat him at his own game and made him believe that I possess a method to resist the heart flame devil fire. As long as I do not reveal the method, he will not kill me," Hao Lu explained. "You're willing to give me a treasure that can withstand the heart flame devil fire?" Lu Ming's expression was still ugly. Could it be that there were several treasures that could resist the heart flame devil fire? If there was only one, why would Hao Lu give it to him? Lu Ming was seriously doubtful. This type of treasure that can resist the heart flame devil fire is called the heart jade. This type of heart jade is a consumable item. If it is placed on one's body, it will naturally allow one's mind to remain clear and not be affected by the heart flame devil fire. However, if one continuously uses it, the heart jade will gradually decrease until it finally disappears. I was fortunate enough to obtain a piece of heart jade back then and have already used it for many years. Vast Willow said. You're still playing with me? Lu Ming's eyes flickered with cold light. What's the point of talking about it when it has already been used up? Young man, why are you so impatient? Will you die if you listen to me? Vast Willow said unhappily. Lu Ming felt disdain in his heart. Who was the one who spoke in paragraphs and said to stop for a while? Although the heart jade will be used up, there is a place in the heavenly prison where one can obtain heart jade. I also need to obtain another heart jade. Therefore, I will bring you to the place that produces heart jade. As for whether you can obtain it or not, it will depend on your luck. This old man promises that I will do my best to obtain one for you. Vast Willow said. There is actually such a place in the heavenly prison? Lu Ming was extremely surprised. There was actually a place that produced heart jade in the heavenly prison, and the heart jade was able to resist the heart flame devil fire. In that case, wouldn't it be useless to lock someone up in the heavenly prison? Little brat, you don't have to be happy too early. The production of heart jade is very low, and it can only be found in that place. The competition there is extremely huge. Many terrifying experts will gather there, ready to fight for it at any time. Even if we go there, we might not be able to obtain a heart jade. Vast Willow said. Then why didn't Commander Tungsten and the others fight for it? Lu Ming asked curiously. The heavenly prison is very vast. The place where the heart jade is produced is very far from here. It is normal that the news did not spread here. In addition, those who know about the heart jade will treat it as their own secret and will not easily tell others. Because the more people who know about it, the more competition there will be. No one wants to have more competitors. Vast Willow explained. Lu Ming nodded. This explanation made sense. Because the heart jade was a consumable item, it would be used up after a period of time. It needed to be obtained continuously. Therefore, the fewer people who knew about it, the better it would be. Therefore, Commander Tungsten had misunderstood and thought that Vast Willow had a method to resist the heart flame devil fire. Everything made sense now. Lu Ming's suspicions slowly faded away. Let's rest for a while and then set off. That place is not close. Vast Willow said. The two of them rested for a whole day. Then, Vast Willow led the way. With a great expert like Hao Lu, their speed was much faster. Vast Willow was extremely strong. Lu Ming guessed that Vast Willow had the strength of the 6th Great Supreme God Layer, or even the 7th Great Supreme God Layer. A cultivator of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer was already extremely strong. He could easily kill a cultivator of the 6th Great Supreme God Layer, not to mention Lu Ming's strength. Therefore, even if they met some crazy people on the way, they would not be a threat to them. Instead, Vast Willow would kill them easily. Unless they met some extremely terrifying people. Once Vast Willow sensed those extremely terrifying people, Vast Willow would take Lu Ming and take a detour. Just like that, they traveled for half a month. During this period of time, Lu Ming felt that the negative emotions in his heart had become a little more serious. Although it was just a little bit, and did not affect Lu Ming for the time being, it was indeed becoming more and more serious. If it accumulated over a long period of time, it would be extremely terrifying. This problem had to be solved. Lu Ming had to get the heart jade. Half a month later, according to Vast Willow, they were finally close to the place where the heart jade was produced. It was a desolate mountain range. There were all kinds of pitch-black trees growing on the mountain. It looked ferocious and terrifying. We're almost at the place where the heart jade is produced, the Heart Jade Demon Cave. There are always strong cultivators hiding around this area. We have to be careful, Vast Willow warned. His expression became serious. Chapter 42-43. Hao Lu and Lu Ming landed on the ground and started walking. Stop! Suddenly, Hao Lu spoke. His voice carried a trace of seriousness as he swept the surroundings with his gaze. Lu Ming stopped and followed Hao Lu closely. It wasn't a joke. Even Hao Lu looked serious. Lu Ming's cultivation level wasn't high enough. Of course, he had to follow Hao Lu. Hao Lu glanced around. After a while, he withdrew his qi and said, "Let's go. It's safe now." "Did they leave?" asked Lu Ming. "Indeed. They only have the strength of the sixth great supreme god layer. They knew they couldn't defeat me, so they left," said Hao Lu. The two of them continued walking. They didn't encounter any danger for the rest of the journey. Around half an hour later, "We're here," Hao Lu suddenly said as he looked ahead with bright eyes. Lu Ming also looked ahead and narrowed his eyes. There was a gigantic cliff in front of them. That cliff was tens of thousands of li high, and it was at least 100 million li long. It was very smooth, as if someone had cut it open with a blade. Half of it was still there, and the other half had disappeared. There was a cave in the middle of the cliff. That cave was round and gigantic. It was at least a few thousand li wide. From a distance, the cave was pitch black. It looked like a gigantic mouth that was going to swallow everything. Outside the cave, there were many people scattered around. There were at least 100 of them. Because the cave was gigantic, it didn't seem crowded even though there were over 100 people scattered around. That cave is the Evil Jade Cave. The Evil Jade Cave came from that cave. But that cave is very dangerous. Sometimes, a terrifying energy comes out of it. Even a cultivator of the ninth great supreme god layer will be severely injured or even die. Only a divine lord can break in. But there are no divine lords in the prison of the heavenly palace. The divine lords are locked up in other places in the heavenly palace. Therefore, it is impossible to rush into the cave to obtain the Jade Heart. The only way is to wait outside the cave. Occasionally, Jade Hearts will rush out of the Devil Jade Heart cave. If you want to obtain a Jade Heart, you have to wait for it to rush out before snatching it, explained Hao Lu. Lu Ming's expression was grave. The difficulty of obtaining the Heart Jade was much greater than he had imagined. Lu Ming sized up the hundreds of people present. All of them were experts. Even the weakest among them were far stronger than him. Many of them were not weaker than Hao Lu, and some were even stronger than Hao Lu. In other words, any one of them could easily kill Lu Ming. How could he obtain the Jade Heart? He could only play it by ear. "Follow me," Hao Lu said as he walked towards the Heart Jade Magic Cave. Lu Ming followed closely behind Hao Lu as they slowly approached the Heart Jade Magic Cave. As they walked, Lu Ming sized up those people. These people came from all kinds of races. There were some races that even Lu Ming had never heard of. These people were all standing in different positions. Some were closer to the Heart Jade Demon Cave, while others were further away from it. There were even some people who were almost standing at the entrance of the Heart Jade Devil Cave. Those who were closer to the Heart Jade Devil Cave were the stronger ones, while those who were weaker were further away from the entrance. That was enough to prove how terrifying the Heart Jade Devil Cave was. As Lu Ming and Hao Lu approached, they attracted many people's gazes. Cold, cruel, and bloodthirsty gazes fell upon Lu Ming and Hao Lu. Especially Lu Ming. He was the focus of many people's gazes. Hee, interesting. A mere divine emperor dares to come here. Do you want to snatch the Jade Heart from us? A cold voice sounded. You're overestimating yourself. You're courting death. Another disdainful voice sounded. Those who dared to come here were at least cultivators of the sixth great supreme god layer. Lu Ming was just a divine emperor. Any one of them could easily kill Lu Ming. A divine emperor dared to come here to snatch the Jade Heart from them. That was just wishful thinking. He was overestimating himself. There were even a few eyes that were filled with cold, murderous intent. They had the feeling that they would kill Lu Ming at any time. However, when their eyes swept past Hao Lu, they forcefully suppressed their murderous intent. Hao Lu made them feel a sense of danger, making them feel apprehensive. They weren't sure that they could defeat Hao Lu. If they attacked him, they might get injured. If they got injured in that place, their strength would be weakened and they could be attacked by others. That was extremely dangerous. After a short while, Lu Ming and Hao Lu arrived at an open space, about 1,000 li away from the entrance of the Heart Jade Devil Cave. Then, they calmly waited. Whoosh whoosh, Suddenly, a whistling sound came from the Heart Jade Devil Cave. It sounded like a gust of wind. "They're here," Hao Lu suddenly said, staring at the Heart Jade Devil Cave. The others were the same. Their eyes were twinkling as they stared at the Heart Jade Devil Cave. Whoosh whoosh, the whistling sound of the wind became louder. Suddenly, rays of black light flew out from the Heart Jade Devil Cave. These rays of light formed arcs, like curved blades, flying out from the Heart Jade Devil Cave in all directions. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Those who were close to the Heart Jade Devil Cave immediately used their movement skills, flashing rapidly and dodging the rays of black light. At Lu Ming and Hao Lu's side, there were 3 rays of light that flew over at an astonishing speed. "Be careful, don't take it head-on. These rays of light are extremely terrifying. You can't take it head-on." Hao Lu's voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. The rays of light were extremely fast. As soon as Hao Lu's voice fell, the 3 rays of light approached. Great God Wind Skill. With a thought, Lu Ming cast the Great Divine Wind Skill. It flickered continuously in the surroundings, transforming into many phantoms and dodging the 3 arc-shaped lights. At the same time, Hao Lu also used his movement skill to dodge the 3 rays of light. In the other directions, those people also avoided all the arc-shaped lights. These people had been here for quite some time, so they were very familiar with the rays of light. Moreover, they were careful enough, so none of them were hit by the rays of light. However, the rays of light were not limited to that. Whoosh whoosh. The whistling sound in the Heart Jade Devil Cave did not stop. In the next moment, more rays of light flew out. This time, there were even more rays of light. This time, there were a total of 5 rays of light that flew towards Lu Ming and Hao Lu. This time, Lu Ming was prepared. He used his movement skill to the extreme and successfully dodged the 5 rays of light. It was the same for those in the other directions. None of them were hit. After this wave of rays of light flew out, the Heart Jade Devil Cave calmed down and returned to its previous calmness. This time, there is no Heart Jade. Hao Lu revealed a look of disappointment. The others were the same. They were more or less disappointed. Chapter 42-44. Every time, the Jade Heart would appear together with this kind of arc-shaped light. When the arc-shaped light flies out, sometimes the Jade Heart would fly out together with it. However, it doesn't appear every time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Hao Lu explained. Lu Ming nodded but didn't say anything. This brat is actually still alive. A bewildered voice came from the side, sounding very surprised. The others were the same. They all looked at Lu Ming in surprise. The arc light that flew out of the Heart Jade Magic Cave was extremely fast. Originally, they thought that Lu Ming, a divine emperor, would not be able to dodge it unless Hao Lu helped him. However, just now, Lu Ming didn't need Hao Lu's help at all. He relied on himself to avoid those arc-shaped lights. This surprised them. This kid's movement technique is very fast. No wonder he dares to come to this place. However, if he only relies on his movement technique, he won't be able to obtain the Jade Heart. Hee. Someone sneered. Lu Ming didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. Those people also felt bored and did not continue to speak. The scene fell into silence again as everyone continued to wait. The wait lasted for half a month. Hoo. Half a month later, the Heart Jade Magic Cave once again resounded with the sound of howling winds. Everyone's spirits were lifted again. Within the Heart Jade Devil Cave, another arc of light was about to erupt. Every time an arc of light erupted, it meant that there was a chance that a Heart Jade would appear. Swish, swish, swish. In the next moment, a large number of arc-shaped lights flew out of the Heart Jade Devil Cave. This time, there were many arcs of light. From afar, it looked like the entire cave was filled with arcs of light. The experts who were closest to the cave used their movement techniques to the extreme, constantly flashing, avoiding the arcs of light. A large number of arc-shaped lights flew out of the cave and fanned out in all directions. This time, a total of 7 arc-shaped lights flew toward Lu Ming and Hao Lu. Lu Ming executed his movement technique and flashed with all his might, dodging the arcs of light. Heart Jade, it's the Heart Jade. Suddenly, A cry of surprise sounded. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he looked at the entrance of the Heart Jade Magic Cave. He saw a piece of white jade, about the size of a fist, flying out of the Heart Jade Magic Cave. It was extremely eye-catching among the arc-shaped lights. That was the Heart Jade. Many people's eyes lit up, especially those who were close to the cave entrance. Finally, a Heart Jade. Very few Heart Jades flew out of the Heart Jade Devil Cave. On average, only one Heart Jade would fly out of the Heart Jade Devil Cave every year. Those who were unlucky would have to wait a few years to see them. Every piece of Heart Jade was very precious. Not only could it save one's life, it could also reduce the pain caused by negative emotions. However, this piece of jade heart was enveloped by 3 arcs of light and flew out together. The experts closest to the cave originally wanted to rush over, but when they saw this scene, they stopped abruptly. These arcs of light were too terrifying. They could not block them at all. The Heart Jade was enveloped by the 3 arcs of light. They could not obtain it at all. They could only wait for the arc-shaped lights to disperse. With a swoosh, the jade heart flew past the people closest to the entrance of the cave, along with a few arcs of light, flying towards the outside. After flying outside, the 3 arcs of light scattered and flew in all directions. The Heart Jade was still flying in one direction. This time, there were no arc-shaped lights. The eyes of the people in that direction lit up. They were burning with passion. The Heart Jade is mine. Get lost. The Heart Jade is mine. Many people shouted angrily as they threw themselves at the Heart Jade. Those people had been affected by the Heart Flame and Demon Fire. They were filled with all kinds of violent emotions. When they saw the Heart Jade, they went crazy. At least 10 people threw themselves at the Heart Jade from that direction. A fierce battle broke out in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. Dazzling divine light flickered, and the fierce battle reached its climax in an instant. More than 10 people were fighting in a chaotic battle. The cultivator of the 6th Great Supreme God Layer gave a horrible shriek. His head was cut off and his soul was destroyed. He died on the spot. But a moment later, the one who had killed him, a cultivator of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer, was pushed back by another cultivator of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer. Behind that person, an arc-shaped light was flying. Slash. The arc of light cut through that person's body. That person's face was filled with endless terror. Then, with a bang, his body turned into a pile of dust. A cultivator of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer had been killed by an arc-shaped light. His body and soul had been destroyed. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. How Lu had told him that the arc-shaped lights were terrifying. Even cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer would be severely injured if they didn't die. But hearing about it was one thing. When he saw it with his own eyes, he was still astonished. How strong were cultivators of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer? In the primitive universe, he was definitely an expert who could dominate a region. In the Heavenly Palace, he could be a high-level divine general. However, he was hit by an arc of light and died just like that. However, the battle didn't stop even though those people had died. The battle was still intense. Very quickly, 2 more people had died. One of them had been killed by someone else, and the other one had also been killed by the arc-shaped light. After a long battle, a cultivator of the 7th Great Supreme God Layer finally obtained the Heart Jade. After that person obtained the Heart Jade, he flew away, intending to leave. If he didn't leave with the Heart Jade, he would be attacked by the others. Besides, that Heart Jade was enough for him to use for a long time. You want to leave? Give me the Heart Jade and I'll spare your life, shouted a tall and sturdy silhouette, chasing after that person. That tall and sturdy silhouette had a thick and dense chi. He was a cultivator of the 8th Great Supreme God Layer. The 2 of them, one running and one chasing, quickly disappeared from this place. The others didn't chase after them. Their silhouettes flickered as they dodged the remaining arc-shaped lights. The battle stopped. Compared to before, there were 4 less people. For Great Supreme God Layer cultivators had died. Fuck! Shouted a few people who were closest to the hole. Their eyes were filled with ferocious lights. Some of the others also sighed inwardly. Slowly, the scene calmed down. Everybody continued waiting. Time passed quickly. Another half a month passed. Whistling sounds spread in the air again. More arc-shaped lights flew out, but this time, there was no heart jade. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been here for half a year. Every half a month, there would be 1 or 2 waves of arcs of light flying out. However, ever since the last time a piece of jade heart flew out, there were no more jade hearts. Everybody was very patient. They didn't get impatient and continued waiting. Hoo-hoo. Finally, a whistling sound came from the heart jade magic cave again, and arcs of light flew out. This time, there were a few white dots in the arc-shaped lights. Chapter 42-45. The crowd frowned because there were a few white dots in the middle of the lights. Those white dots were emitting a milky white light which was dazzling to the crowd. Jade heart! Jade heart! This time, a few jade hearts had appeared at the same time, which was extremely rare. Many people's eyes turned red, and they released a powerful chi. They were ready to attack at any time. Swish, 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 a large number of lights flew out, and a few jade hearts also flew out. There were 4 of them in total. 4 jade hearts had flown out at the same time. It was a rare sight. I must get the jade hearts. I must get them. This time, I must get one. Many people roared in their hearts as they stared at the jade hearts that were flying out at high speed. Very quickly, the 4 jade hearts approached the entrance of the cave. Of the 4 jade hearts, 3 of them were surrounded by lights, and it was difficult to get them. But one of them didn't have any lights around it, and it was flying towards them alone. Swish, swish. Immediately, 2 strong cultivators rushed towards that jade heart. Those 2 strong cultivators had dared to stay at the entrance of the cave, so they were the strongest cultivators there. They had the strength of the 8th great supreme god layer. They were extremely fast and quickly approached the jade hearts. Both of them launched their attacks at the same time. Terrifying killing power blasted towards each other. Boom! Violent explosions spread in the air. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had already exchanged a few dozen attacks. Neither of them had managed to get the jade hearts. The jade hearts flew to the other side while they were fighting. "Piss off!" shouted a skinny big man furiously. He turned into an eagle and flapped his wings. His figure flickered, and he flew towards the jade hearts at an incredible speed. Don't even think about it. The jade hearts are mine. How could the other one let him have them? He also reverted back to his original form and charged over, exchanging blows with the goshawk. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had exchanged a dozen attacks. The goshawk was careless, and its wing was hit by an arc of light. The goshawk screamed and retreated. At the same time, a feather flew out from its body and turned into a divine sword. It slashed at its own body, and with a poof, half of its body was cut off. This way, even though he was heavily injured, he managed to preserve his life. If he hadn't done so, even if his wings had only been hit by the arc of light, the destructive energy in the arc of light would have completely destroyed him. Song Ying was injured, so the jade heart was taken by another cultivator of the 8th great supreme god layer. As soon as this person obtained the jade heart, he dashed outside, not intending to stay. There were more than 1 or 2 cultivators of the 8th great supreme god layer there. If things calmed down, he would be surrounded. 2 cultivators of the 8th great supreme god layer were fighting over the jade heart. It took a long time to describe, but it actually happened in a flash. At this moment, the other 3 jades of heart flew out. As soon as they flew out, the arcs of light scattered in all directions, revealing the 3 jade hearts. This time, the scene was completely chaotic. The heart jade is mine. I must get it. Kill. Almost everyone moved and rushed towards the 3 pieces of jades of heart. Little guy, be careful. I'm going to snatch the heart jade, Hao Lu said, and also rushed towards a piece of jade heart. Lu Ming didn't move. With his cultivation level, he wasn't strong enough to join the battle. If he joined the battle, the shockwaves of the battle would be enough to kill him. He used the great godly wind technique to dodge the arcs of light while waiting for an opportunity. Boom, boom, boom. With the jade hearts as the core, the area was divided into 3 battlefields. There were at least a few dozen people in each area. The battle was too fierce. In just a short while, people were killed. Some people were killed by other strong cultivators, and some people were accidentally hit by the arcs of light and died. Lu Ming saw that Hao Lu was also in danger. He had almost been hit by an arc of light. The battle had only lasted for half a minute, but more than 10 strong cultivators had already died. However, no one had managed to snatch the Jade Hearts. There were too many strong cultivators. If anyone got close to the Jade Hearts, they would be attacked by others. The Jade Hearts were flying back and forth in the strong qi. They didn't know what the Jade Hearts were made of, but they were extremely hard. Surprisingly, they were safe and sound in the strong qi. Swish! Suddenly, on the battlefield to the left of Lu Ming, the Jade Hearts were hit by the strong qi and suddenly flew to one side. There was no one on that side. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was a good opportunity. Should he make a move? Lu Ming had mastered the Great Teleportation Technique and the Great Aurora Technique. If he made a move, he would definitely be able to get the Jade Hearts. Lu Ming's mind raced, and dozens of ideas flashed through his mind. In the end, Lu Ming decided to make a move. There was no other reason. The Jade Hearts were too important. If he didn't have the Jade Hearts, Lu Ming would sooner or later go crazy because of his negative emotions. However, he would definitely end up in a miserable state. Rather than that, he might as well give it a try. After making up his mind, Lu Ming didn't hesitate anymore and used the Great Aurora Technique. Swish! Lu Ming turned into an aurora and rushed out. In an instant, he was close to the Jade Hearts. He reached out and successfully grabbed the Jade Hearts in his hand. Success! Lu Ming was overjoyed. Just as he was about to use the Great Aurora Technique to rush out, a terrifying sword light slashed at Lu Ming from the side. Its power was extremely terrifying. If he was hit, Lu Ming was sure that he would definitely die. Kid, hand over the Jade Hearts. A roar filled with killing intent came out. There were already people rushing towards Lu Ming. It was too late to retreat. Great Teleportation Technique. Lu Ming wanted to use the Great Teleportation Technique to leave, but in the next moment, his face changed greatly. The Great Teleportation Technique couldn't be used because the space in this area was filled with arcs of light. These arcs of light severely affected the space. This space was extremely unstable and chaotic. If Lu Ming forcefully used the Great Teleportation Technique, he would most likely be teleported to one of the arcs of light. At this moment, the others also rushed towards Lu Ming. Little boy, you're courting death. A trifling divine emperor wants to get the Jade Hearts? I swear, you're dead. Even if you hand over the Jade Hearts now, I'll still kill you. Wishful thinking. Dozens of strong cultivators' silhouettes flickered, dodging the arcs of light and rushing towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming couldn't use the Great Teleportation Technique, so he had no choice but to run towards the other side. Lu Ming was extremely fast. He dodged the arcs of light and kept moving forward. However, compared to those cultivators of the 7th or 8th Great Supreme God Layer, he was still much slower. Die! A skinny middle-aged man was holding a long silver sword. He slashed with his long sword and several sword gleams slashed toward Lu Ming. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.